Okay, we should be live.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the Revere School Committee of the Whole meeting for March 16th, 2021. It is currently 5:07. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Here.
Mr. D'Ambrosio,
Here.
Mr. Ferranti,
Here.
Mrs. Gravellisi,
Here.
Mr. Sinella,
Present.
Ms. Ty,
Here.
Mayor Arrigo.
Okay, agenda item number 1, consent calendar. The approval of the minutes. Does anyone have any questions on the Committee of the Whole and School Committee draft minutes for February 16th?
I have one. It's not really a big issue. It's just that the Gina Guerrero on February 16th, it must be a typographical error. Poke. I'm assuming it should be spoke about the MTA because that would be a pun for her to poke the MTA. So that's just a clerical error.
Fred, I'm
Thank
really
you.
surprised. I'm really
Wow.
impressed that you read that far down.
Yeah.
And
I can't
even-
believe that I missed it.
and I'm going to say, and Carol missed it. I'm impressed. Other than that, does anyone have any questions on those 2 minutes? And then Committee of the Whole for February 22nd. Any questions? None. Let's go on to warrants. Does anyone have any questions on the warrants?
Madam Chair, should we vote to approve the minutes?
No, we do that with the consent calendar.
Okay.
Any questions for Matt and the warrants? Michael, you're here.
I know, I'm here. I really don't have any major questions about it. Matt, I guess the legal services, was that just for the month of February? It was 26 and 27?
We pay the bills as we get them, and so they do work to give us a monthly bill. Sometimes that work could stretch into a couple of weeks of the month prior, so it's not necessarily strictly 30 days of work.
Okay.
And we know that that's over when we get into budget work in the coming months at the detail level. We'll increase our budget and have some breakouts on those costs from what we learned this year. And knowing there's collective bargaining coming up for the 4 different unions over the next 6 months.
Okay. I'm all set, thank you.
Anyone else?
Matt, yes, please. Matt, I just had a question on page 4. Number 131, the staff sweatshirts. Are those the sweatshirts that we buy for the cafeteria workers? Or are they for some other group?
Staff sweatshirts.
Probably the custodians.
No, so that 321108 would be specific to the Garfield Middle School. So it could be the custodial staff there, or it could be something out of a grant that was made specifically for that school. And also, you're only seeing the first line of that purchase order on the right. So it could be more than $1,500 just on sweatshirts. But
I mean, I don't want to make a big deal about $1,500 on sweatshirts. I just think it's a great idea to have sweatshirts for everyone, saying Revere Public Schools on them. I think it's good for morale and good for it's good for the public to see us and what great work our people do.
offline, I'll pull down the specifics on that purchase order to see whether it was custodial staff or a school-wide initiative. I'll find out.
Yeah, not necessary, but thank you.
Yeah,
And
sure.
Carol, remember, they all just received fleece vests
Yes,
with Revere Public Schools, so.
and I think that's great. Mhm.
That is great. Madam Chair,
Yes, Susan.
thank you.
Matt, just one question on page one, number 10, 11,004 for the audit fees. Is that the equity audit or what was that for?
No, the equity audit is in progress, so we've not been billed for that yet. That was the fee for the end of year financial report compliance audit that we're required to do so that the Department of Education can confirm, yes, their reporting around expenditures, especially their net school spending expenditures, has been audited. So that was that audit that took place in January. Diane and I just signed off on that report this week.
Thank you.
Anyone else on warrants? Seeing no financial reports, move on to food service financials. Matthew?
Yes. So actually what you have is not a financial report. It's a request that at the school committee meeting, the school committee vote to approve, and this is unusual, a third extension with the food services management company. So thankfully, a waiver was given to any districts who are in the last year of their food services contract, that if they wanted to, they could make use of a third extension to that contract. Not only is that going to help us in not having to do the nearly impossible work of having a competitive bid around what next year would or wouldn't look like for the food services, but with some of the plans around potential summer school stuff to not have to flip vendors in the middle of a pandemic on a Tuesday afternoon from June 30th to July 1st. So this is similar to the extensions that you voted the last 2 years. You've got the estimates before you in the motion and any backup that was needed. So we just need you to say, yes, let's extend this contract, especially given Aramark's performance in this crazy year, and take advantage of that waiver and go back out to bid for a new year contract when everything's a little more stable. So that's the food services part for tonight.
And Matt, you're recommending that that be done tonight with the motion?
Yes, 100%. The two big
Okay.
reasons are operational. Flipping a food services vendor, if we did, not that we would,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a possibility, is a monumental task over the summertime, made easier by not having kids in full session. And then also, you know, they're doing the best they can to estimate with the extension what meals will be, but we'll follow that on a month-to-month basis next year to make a determination based on somewhat looking into the dark would be much harder in a competitive bid process.
Okay, so a reminder under motions. Susan?
Can we, Madam Chair, bring that off the consent calendar and?
Absolutely. We'll
Thank
put it
you.
under motions.
Mhm.
Question?
Michael?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Matt, where it says net funds available, 2.5 million, that doesn't include the payroll that we have to pay, right?
That's right. So the bottom line, what you're seeing here is the extension projection now, based on, you know, the kind of year we would expect it to be, is that there would be a little more than $2.5 million returned to the district for all of her costs of operation. For us, the primary cost there is that entire cafeteria staff for a year. So they're guaranteeing to return to us 2.577 in the next operating year. When you see guaranteed up to the management fee, meaning if for any reason their performance results in less meals being served, then they're guaranteeing to hit that mark to us up to the $295,000 that they otherwise would have been compensated for their management fee. So this is typical of how we structure this, and it gives great incentive to the vendor to do an excellent job running the program.
Matt, what approximately does the payroll run in the course of a year? If you had to, give us an eyeball guess at it.
Yeah, so we would not want to ask about this year since we furloughed the part-time cafeteria staff.
But a normal year.
Yeah, you're looking at the 2.2, 2.3 range for full-time staff, part-time staff, and all of the costs that go into having them be employed with us.
Thank you.
Okay, and I did say under motions, but I believe we should be bringing it up under new business. Does anyone agree or disagree?
That's fine. That's good.
That's fine.
That's good.
I thought we usually, when we get to vote required for the consent calendar, somebody usually just raises their hand to take it off the consent calendar.
It's not really the financials, though.
Okay,
He's just bringing it up under that. Like,
okay, so
I'm assuming why he was here.
under new business. Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Who will read that? The secretary?
I can
Yes.
read it.
Okay.
Okay, so any communications? None? And enrollment update is none. And personnel items, anyone questions, new hires, retirements? Anyone have any questions?
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm. Michael?
Diane, do we happen to fill the spots for the custodians that you were looking to hire?
We've started to. You can see that 3 of them are on this list of new hires. And I got a recommendation for 1 more today. There are still 2 spots out there.
Okay, thank you.
Question, the adjustment counselor at the Hill School, is that a replacement position or is that a new position?
That is a new position that we tried to put on last year and then didn't initially have the money for. It's part of that piece where we're going to try to start filling our open positions
Yes,
and
right.
get people
That's
on
great.
board.
Right. And the same, the long-term sub at the Hill as well?
The long-term sub at the Hill is actually a position for somebody who's not returning.
Oh.
Is that
okay,
right,
thank
Richie?
you.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, no one is giving us any money, so we'll skip the acceptance of donations. And unfortunately, no field trips. And we're on to regular meeting agenda items. Does anyone have specific questions for Diane first? And if not, we'll just have Diane bring up what she feels she needs to bring up. Seeing none, Diane, the floor.
Thank you. Just briefly. So the items, first of all, you're going to recognize Jill Herwig for her incredible achievement as being named the Middle School Health Teacher of the Year. Jill is an absolutely incredible educator. So we're really excited for her and glad that you'll be honoring her tonight. I believe Jill will be with us for that recognition. The Garfield Elementary School is going to do a presentation on their robotics program, which is supported by our high school robotics team. So that's a pretty exciting piece that I'm glad for everybody to get a chance to look at. The Gleam Collaboration and Preparation Grant is a grant that Christina Porter applied for. It's about $3,000, a little bit less. And that is a planning grant, which will lead to increased funding down the road, assuming their planning goes well. And that grant, GLEAM, stands for Growing Literacy Equity Across Massachusetts. So it's a really exciting program for us to be part of. Just a brief update, kind of a pre-alert to families that Dr. Garcia is going to be sending some information on focus groups and surveys in the next couple of weeks so that we can engage parents and families in our equity audit. Richie is going to talk about several items on our reopening plan. And then we're going to share information about the middle school lottery, which we're going to postpone until later in the spring. Normally we do that. We actually hold the lottery just before April vacation. But because kids are just getting back to school and there's so much going on, we're actually going to send the forms home just before April vacation and ask families to return them by May 10th. And the lottery will be held on May 27th, which is the Thursday before the long weekend. And Danielle will have a full presentation on the lottery at each of our next 2 school committee meetings. Next month, she'll have the details on the application process or the forms, returning the forms process. And then in May, prior to the lottery on the 27th, she'll have the details of how many students selected first choice at each of the 3 middle schools, et cetera, as she normally does for the committee. And I think that's about it.
Anyone have anything they need to bring up for last minute?
Just a quick question, because I pulled up the correct agenda for the 6 o'clock meeting, since I had one that was prior to being an update. Fred, on your motion to relax the dress code. Is
Yes,
it relax or rescind? Do you mean relax by they can wear the same color uniforms, like white, maroon, and black t-shirts instead of polos? Is that what you mean by relax?
no, relax means not to have an effect.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
No, and I thank you for that, because I toyed with how, if it was demand that it stop, it sounds, draconian. This way here, it's, because the superintendent did allude to, they could wear a white shirt. They
Right.
could, a color doesn't have to be Kelly green, it could be this. But it's just that the generalization of everything that's on the plate to get kids back to school, I think that this is a low priority that people are trying to abide by, but they're not available. You can go online, you buy them now, and then it's, well, when the motion's presented, we'll go into it a little further.
Okay, just wanted to
Thank you.
clarify the language.
Well, if I can add to that, I think that people have already begun to start to get uniforms for kids who don't have them, maybe kids who have outgrown them. And especially for some of the ones in the 6th grade. And I think I'd say the 8th grade and the 5th grade, because they're not going to be using the same things again. Although they can wear some of the pants, depending upon what they have. But I know in Beachmont, they have already begun helping people who need the uniforms. And the Beachmont Improvement Committee has connected with folks down there, including the principal and the nurse, Adrian McGuire, who is just about everywhere in the city now and has been, who knows, what kids need things. So I think we're already on the way toward replacing these. And again, I've never been a fan, but now that it's in, I think it might be just causing a little more difficulty. Mostly, I think that.
And I
You
think
know,
that's the concern that the principals have.
Mhm.
They don't
Yeah.
want to be fighting with kids about whether or not their shirt is appropriate or the words on it are appropriate, or if they're offensive. It's one more layer of stress and complication that the principals would like to not have to deal with everything else that's going on right now.
But what are they
And-
dealing with, Diane? What is it that they don't want to deal with? If they can come with whatever clothing they want, then there's no problem. They don't have to make a decision,
No, but if kids come in with a shirt that says "FU" or
which we had
some other
many of in
inappropriate
Chinese.
thing, it ends
Yeah.
up being a problem, and then it's
Yeah.
freedom of speech and First Amendment rights, and
Susan?
it can get pretty complicated.
Susan?
I'm actually a fan of uniforms. I've always been a fan of uniforms. I wanted uniforms when my children were in school, and it just didn't happen. I'm in agreement with relaxing the policy as far as like a plain white t-shirt, a plain maroon t-shirt, a plain black t-shirt, and, blue sweatpants. They don't necessarily maybe have to be khakis or, khaki colored sweatpants or, something like that. But I mean, I'm not in I know a lot of parents that have already been shopping and are out
Yeah.
there and have been ordering it online, and it's all over
Yeah.
Facebook. They're sharing, you can get your, stuff
Right.
here. I just ordered it at this site. You know what I mean? And I have told people that like the policy would be kind of relaxed in that aspect, as far as like they can throw on a maroon t-shirt and still be considered in uniform. So, I mean, I'd like
Right.
to stick with the relax, but just clarify like that.
Yeah,
They can
and then I'll say
in
one
their
more thing and then I'll ask,
colors.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, like I'd like to still see them in their school colors, because everyone I talked to that I told, you can get a t-shirt at Walmart. They're like, great, all right, I'm gonna go get, 5 white t-shirts for $5 each.
And for families that are struggling financially, the principals are making them available for free. And the other piece of this, especially with older adolescents around the middle school, or younger adolescents, I should say, around the middle school age, there's a lot of social pressure to have the right shirt and the right pair of pants and the right pair of sneakers and the right brand names. And one of the things that's helpful about the uniforms is it destigmatizes a lot of those pieces. But Richie, having been a middle school principal, I think you could probably help here.
Yeah, so I would also just jump in and echo what Ms. Ty said earlier about the sweatshirts for staff and the camaraderie that builds and the pride that builds. I've always loved seeing students in uniform for our school. Obviously, we have 3 colors available that you can purchase tops in. I would also say at the middle school level, I know that the uniform policies have been relaxed over the past few years. Students used to be able to wear sweatpants on just Fridays, but now that's become kind of a daily accepted item, as long as they're the color of the polo. And the administrators at the really at all levels, but particularly middle school, really do a nice job of relaxing it for special occasions. So we used to have a number of dress down days, some of which were themed, superhero day or school spirit day or twin day, where the kids would get to dress down and not be in uniform. And as was previously stated, I know that the schools have always been responsive to families that are in a jam or experiencing a hardship and cannot get the uniforms. We've certainly been able to deliver on that, and I don't anticipate that this year would be any different. But personally, it does bring a sense of school spirit. It does not put pressure on young students or adolescents to live up to economic expectations in terms of what they can and can't purchase. And just since I've seen, and I was a teacher before the uniforms and a teacher and administrator after, I think it's been a real positive impact district-wide. And I feel like a lot of administrators and teachers would agree with that. And I also believe that a lot of families agree with that. We've got a lot of positive feedback about how easy and how accessible it is for families to get the uniforms.
So I'll add my 2 cents, and I agree with, a little bit of what everyone has said. Also, a parent at Lincoln School, us as a PTA did uniforms for our students for 2 years. So I've been on board with uniforms 20 years ago. And to say lax, they can wear a maroon shirt. Well, that's the way it's always been. They can wear whatever colors their school is. So that's the way it has been. I just feel, and to tell you the truth, 2 people last night were talking about where they found their daughters' uniforms because they are the same size. So they're still looking. Again, I think I would like to leave it up to parents. There's going to be parents that want to keep with this uniform. I think there's parents that are just frustrated trying to get through a day. Relax. I have heard of 1 or 2 principals that aren't even going to look at what clothes they have on. They just want the kids back in school. And the same thing for a lot of teachers. We talk about people that don't want to, teachers shouldn't have to reprimand kids every day for coming in with a hat or not. But now we want to reprimand for uniforms. I shouldn't say reprimand, but we want to push, no, we want to push uniforms, and teachers are going to be in the classroom having to oversee that. The easiest way for our students to be back in the school, whether they want to wear uniforms or whether they don't want to wear uniforms. I don't know of an elementary child that would ever come to school with certain words on their shirt. So I don't see that happening. Maybe middle school, but you know what? Again, you're watching what they have on, and those are the kids that should be pulled out no matter what. I just want whatever easier for everyone. If parents don't want to, I don't want to see them pushed into doing it or paying the money. And then there are going to be parents that absolutely love having the uniforms. They still fit their kids. They have the money to go out and buy them and let them do what they want to do. We're just trying to get kids back in school. And right now, that's all that matters to me. Susan?
Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. I agree, we are just trying to get the kids back into school right now, but I respectfully have to disagree, like, as far as just do whatever you want. I think we as a committee have to make a decision. It shouldn't be a do what you feel like doing when you come to school. Just my opinion.
And,
Well,
and
the
I
other-
would just ask that you weigh equally the voices of the administrators and the people who are going to deal with this.
But you know, Diane, you're talking like you were having full return. You're gonna probably have 3 kids in one class, 5 kids in another class, 6 kids in another class. I mean, maybe what Susan felt the relax meant, and it's kind of going along what you had made reference way back when, wear a white shirt. So maybe the parents won't feel compelled to go find it online or whatever. Yes, they can wear a white shirt. They can wear sweatpants. Maybe the relax was the correct word indirectly. So maybe we can go with it that way.
So can I just ask a question, just for clarification? Madam Chair, through you. So Mr. Sinella, do you mean with your original motion, do you want relaxed to mean just as you just
Okay,
said?
I will, take that because it's a compromise. I mean, it still has some semblance of order without putting a burden. I mean, yes, there's funds available, but you may have somebody working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. They don't qualify for subsidy. And as was mentioned, we want to get them back as comfortable as possible. And going back to my days at the Wayland, I don't like the word uniform. I use uniformity by having a shirt that matches, and the parents love it because they don't go out and spend all kinds of monies to be socially correct.
And
Yeah,
then,
and I will just add one more thing is that we're not asking people for financial information. When they tell us they need help with uniforms, we're providing it.
that's what I was just going to ask clarification for, because that was my understanding. If someone was in need, they could go to their school building principal and just let them know they were in need and that there are funds available. Thank you.
Mrs. Rizzo?
Carol,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay. I think we're all on the same page in this. We want the best for the kids, and we might have differences of opinion about how to approach that. But I think we really have to take into consideration that we have absolute star nurses who look at the kids and who know who needs what. We have great social workers. We have administrators who know their kids and know the parents, and I know who needs what, and they will notice that and they will provide for it. They have money in their school budget. They have money that people might be donating. They have that. So I'm not in favor of dismissing the code. I did like your word relax. And I thought that was quite deliberate too. But I prefer just to be silent on the matter. And hope that, and know that our administrators will do what's right for the kids.
Susan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Ty, we just said you wanted to be silent on the matter. Does that mean you didn't want to continue with this motion, or you want, what I liked
That's what
about
I
it?
would,
Okay.
that's what I would prefer.
I'm happy, like what Fred just said, like using the word relax as far as you can wear a t-shirt, sweatpants, whatever, because I feel that would give clarification to a lot of the parents, because parents I spoke with said, are you sure that I can just put a t-shirt and a sweatpants on my kid and they're gonna be fine? You know, so I mean, I like the motion with the relaxed uniform, meaning that, you know, they don't have to have a polo and khakis, whatever. And I think that might give parents some clarification and give them a little more certainty as to like, yeah, it's okay to put a t-shirt on.
The only thing, relax is a great word to use when we know what we mean. The problem comes when somebody doesn't know what relax means. That's why it's difficult. There are so many connotations to that word. That's why I'd prefer to be silent on the matter.
Thank you.
Duly noted. Anyone else on the wonderful topic of school uniforms? Anything else to be brought up? So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Well, we didn't vote on the motion to relax.
That's on the
Oh, that's
floor.
6 o'clock. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
apologize. 6
Yeah,
o'clock,
I just
right.
brought it up because I wasn't
No,
certain.
thank you, Susan. No, okay.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti,
Yes.
Mrs. Gravellisi,
yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Ms. Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Okay, see everyone at 6.